Hey everybody, good afternoon. Welcome back to our third show on this, the launch day of the latest Carnation Crafts fantastic collection. We do this once a month, launch a brand new collection, and this one has gone down an absolute storm. Thank you for your lovely messages and comments on YouTube and Facebook. I can let you know that in this, the third show, so there's been what, 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock this morning. In this, the 1 o'clock show, we're coming in at half the entire stock of the collection gone in 2 shows. That's pretty amazing. So everyone's falling in love with it. I think the main reason for that is, there's lots of reasons, but the main reason I think is this. Because not only have you got the most incredible greenhouse, it can be a greenhouse, it's a very posh one if it is a greenhouse, it can be an orangery, it could be a conservatory, it could be the front of an incredible building if you wanted it to be. But not only do you get that in this, but you're also going to get a die that will create box framed presentation boxes. And what I mean by that, if that's something that you're thinking, well, what do you mean? Don't quite get it. In this one collection itself, in the Botanical Sanctuary, you're going to get the die that will make this amazing orangery. That's what I'm calling it. Isn't that just gorgeous? You get the belly band as well, which is basically something that will hold your 3-dimensional card in place. And then you get the die to make the box. And they can be separate shadow boxes, and they can be put on walls. They can actually be stood freestanding on sideboards, coffee tables, that sort of thing as well. But stick them together and put the hinge on them that comes with it. It then becomes this amazing box, which is not only a box for transport, but it's a box for display. And you can decorate the front. So yeah, this proves the point that you can actually use this as a topper on a card if you want to. If you don't want to make it 3-dimensional and make it, you know, very deep, you don't have to. So the box front has been covered with the greenhouse front. Open it up, and then if I take this out, and you can see, you've got the most spectacular 3D scene. Now this is actually made by Sue Dalrymple, this one of our design team members, and she's incorporated, you could put acetate in there if you wanted to, but if I just show you, there's this incredible concertina side which allows you to put, and actually Sue's put 3 layers here, which is creating that amazing depth and dimension for the greenhouse. Now we've got bell peppers in there, yellow peppers, we've got tomatoes that are being grown in there as well, beautiful potted plants being grown in there too. And with this, you're going to get 2 characters from the Carnation stable. You're going to get geese, and you're also going to get the trademarked beautiful little mice as well that are watering the flowers. Well, one's kind of giving instruction as to where to water, the other one's doing the watering. But you get all of this, and it's under £100. Now, I remember, and Carla will back me up on this, and so will Taz too, I remember the days, and it wasn't that long ago, where you'd be paying probably £70, £75 maybe, just for a die like this, to give you the box capabilities, box making capabilities, and to give you that incredible 3-dimensional orangery greenhouse effect. But to get all of it for $99.99, it's on a special price, as it always is on launch day. What the guys at Carnation give you is a discount for getting in straight away at the launch. So you should be paying $114.99, and it will be that price later in the week if there's any stock left. But if you buy it today, you'll get it at the extra 10% discount down to £99.99. Now, we do clear pay. We do also PayPal Pay in 3 if you want to spread the cost interest-free as well. But that's not where the generosity of Carnation ends. Because when you buy it today, you can then, while you're on the website, go to the downloads, click on free downloads, and you'll see the vignettes. Now, that's what we call the artwork. The artwork that is there for you free of charge, the artwork for the greenhouse, the artwork for even the brackets. Even the hinges have got artwork as well, so they look like real metal. And then the artwork for the flowers, the plants, everything, the characters, it's all there for you to print off. I've got them here to show you. This is what the vignettes look like. These are mirrored vignettes. So whenever you see the black line in the middle, that's where you fold it to get a front and back, or a left and right. But if I show you the artwork for the greenhouse itself, it's available in 2 colorways. You've got it in this beautiful purple, if you want it to be more kind of dominant and stand out. If you want it to be more subtle, like a greenhouse perhaps would be normally, there it is in the off-white kind of light grey colour. So you've got all that artwork there that you can print off right now, and when your dies arrive in the next day or 2, you can cut them out. And that's there free now for you, and will be going forward as well. So there's no having to colour in and paint them, colour them in with pencils or pens. The artwork is professionally done by Nick and his team, and it's there as a gift from them to you. And that's massive, because that means that, I'm not saying coloured in cards never look good, they do, but when you've got the professional colouring, that's the difference between a card that looks, oh, okay, and one that looks, wow, that's incredible. So 240901, I can't remember the last time I stood here, Carla, and said half stock gone by the third show.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Although, listen, of course, because you guys know what you're doing, you're getting this amazing card base, you're getting a presentation box to put any card in, but certainly to put this card in. So you've got all these different elements, haven't you? And that card base that creates the box, the presentation box, you can use that for an enormous amount of things. It's not just for the presentation box. It can be a card itself. It can be, you could create apertures in it to create a really deep box card. There's so many different ways of playing with just that. And that's only a small part of the main die set. It's incredible.
I mean, think about all those cards you've made in the past and going forward in the future that have got decoupage on them. They're always deep. Maybe you struggle to put them into envelopes because they always get crushed. You've tried jiffy bags and that hasn't really worked either. I mean, this box can be used for that, but equally they can be used as standalone shadow boxes, which you can put on the wall or put on a sideboard or whatever you want to do with them. Equally, if you don't want to use the greenhouse, but you just want to use some of the characters, they just make wonderful frames. So you can obviously decorate the front. Sentiments on the front always look lovely. Decorate the inside. So to get the potential to make boxes that I reckon if you bought a box like this decorated, you'd be looking at probably a £5. A plain box like this, you'd be looking at probably £3.50, £3.99 from a gift shop. To make them yourself out of your cardstock, including the greenhouse in this collection and everything else, it's a win-win situation for everyone. 240901 then, this is our last live show of the day. There is going to be 2 more live shows tomorrow, 10 and 12, and you can watch back the 9 o'clock and the 11 o'clock. Now what Carla did at 9 was a greenhouse demonstration. Then at 11 she did a box making demonstration, so you can watch that back a bit later on, maybe on YouTube and on our website. But I just got to quickly show you the other card collection we've got in the show, which we'll go through on the boards in a second, is this one, which is the hanging archway card shape. Now this, as I think you'll agree, will work really well with the main collection, the Botanical Bliss. But you've got, I think, a little bit of a nod to Art Deco there with those rays that are going off. That will work if you've got any Art Deco characters or any Art Deco artwork that you want to incorporate in that. That would look really nice. But do you look at that and see a doorway? Do you look at that and see a window in a ballroom or whatever, or a fancy restaurant?
Well, it gives visual for perspective as well. Yeah. So if you've got something on that mid-section, and think of that as being a doorway in and that midpoint being further back in the room, like an Alice in Wonderland kind of idea, you've got that as well. So it's all fitted into one.
And the one that's got the dots and the dashes, or the dashes next to it, that's actually your stand. And then next to that you've got your gateways, and at the bottom you've got, of course, your pots and also your fantastic potted flowers as well. And there's one of the cards that we are showing you now.
I just wanted to show you the stand that you get with this as well, because that's such an important part of what we're making here. I don't need a back and a front to this card. I've got a stand that is angled, which means, sorry Taz, if I do it up that way, there you go Taz, it leans backwards on itself so it can maintain the weight. And that's one of the problems we get with a lot of card stands. They can't take the weight. We've done this in a way that it's angled backwards, so what you're putting on isn't going to pull it forwards. It's going to seat back, and its main, I suppose the cantilever, if you like, is pulling it that way, so it doesn't matter what you put on the front.
And Pam Simpson of the design team has done this one, again using the kind of sun ray at the top there, but setting it forward, so you've got a little bit of shadow play going on there, very, very lovely. And there again are the 2 rests or stands at the back. Really strong those in actual fact as well.
Yeah, they're
but
great.
Beautiful. So this one is sold half stock as well. So a lot of you probably, I don't know, but are probably going for both. 240907, it's $49.99. There are lots of you I know celebrating birthdays today, and there's special reasons in your life why you're treating yourself to both of these. That is 240907. Where we'll be tomorrow when we come back live at 10 o'clock with an update is anybody's guess. A lot of people watch these maybe in the evening when they get home from work or from whatever they're doing during the day a bit later on. Before we get to the boards, just one more thing. Perfect papers, that is a must. It really is. You're going to get the free artwork from the website by going to the downloads and then free download section. You know that by now, I'm sure. But then when you're using your cards, maybe to or your cardstock to maybe you know, kind of cover the inside of the box, for example, this is perfect. But if you're using conventional card making techniques, to have coloured card that's going to complement the artwork is key, and that's what you've got here. And it's really generous. The price is so good. 48 sheets of A4, 300 GSM in all these colourways. Again, I'll just grab a card at random and drop this in just so you can see how the colour of the artwork is complemented by the colours of the perfect papers. $14.99, 300 GSM, so construction weight cardstock. 240908 is your item number. Just a quick word as well, if you're watching us abroad, you too can order the offer. We get lots of you watching in America. Loads of you on YouTube earlier on were saying it's the middle of the night, 4 a.m., 3 a.m. in America, and you were watching the launch show, which was amazing. You too can order. It's $4.95 for your shipping and handling if you're just buying the main collection. If you're going for the perfect papers or anything else that's got a bit of weight to it like that, then it's $14.95 your shipping and handling if you're watching internationally, okay? In the UK, it's free P&P if you spend over £50. All right, let's look at the boards then. This shows you what the dies are going to cut out brilliantly.
So let's see in detail what you're receiving when you get this home. So you're going to have, I mean, it's stunning, isn't it? Let me just turn this around a second. Just that.
Yeah.
That wow moment.
That's the poshest greenhouse I've ever seen in my life.
Certainly not the one that I would own, but it is so beautiful, isn't it? Now, what we've got here is a different concept for construction. There are score lines 1, 2, and 3, which allow me to concertina that, so I can put this one on top of one below. So I would have one that starts here and comes in. I can do that 20 times. I can have the biggest row of these going through. So different elements on different pieces. And we didn't, you know, we went through in detail with this in the first show this morning. But I can do other things with it as well, and I'll talk to you about that in a second, but there's so many different options for me. Now, I've got other elements here, and you might be looking at these and going, well, what are they for? These are all parts of that presentation box that we've got. The die for it is here. It's around the edge, and it's all set for you to make this gorgeous presentation box. We've got an area here to stamp out sentiment. You've got the little band that allows you to seal it. Really, really stunning, and it gives you in full glory not only this stunning presentation box, which has got the band to hold it, it's then got the hinges to keep it together, and when you open it, it's the most glorious place for your card to sit.
That's a gift as well as a card, isn't it?
Then you've got the beautiful belly band here, which of course, you know, it holds it all together, because what you don't want is it expanding and then becoming damaged. So it holds it all in, and you can decorate this out as well to add to different elements. So there's loads of different ways.
I know we got asked earlier on what was the maximum size card you can put in this box. We reckon about a 7-inch card.
Yeah, I would think the actual box itself is 8 by 8. I would say this is ½ an inch, so 7 by 7. But I would be inclined to do 6 3/4, just for a little bit of wiggle room there. You could also create an aperture on the front of here, decorate the inside of it. That aperture will give you that depth that you're looking for as well. You can create a card base from just one side and create a box card, which are really beautiful as well. So again, you're seeing different ways and different means that you can do with this. It's also great if you think in terms of things like wanting to build a small kind of advent calendar, those kind of things, where you would put strips across so it opens out. You would divide this into the 24 doors, and you would then have one that opens for each one, easy construct with some cardstock, and then each door could be a little gift inside, a chocolate or something like that. If you want a different alternative, put some acetate across the top of one of these, pop a little dairy milk behind it and a little hammer picture here, and say break in a case of emergency. There's loads of different ways that you can play, different things that you can do. It would make a beautiful wedding invitation, wouldn't it? Lots of different things that you can do with one die, and that's not the main die. But then you've got the greenhouse.
But also think about things like things you've crocheted or knitted. If you've done some baby's booties or whatever, a scarf, you could put all sorts of things in that box as well. So that alone, I mean, a die to make a box like that, I would expect to pay £30–40 for that. That greenhouse die, I'd expect to pay at least £40 for that. So to get all of this for under 100 is pretty amazing.
Absolutely. And this, the actual box die, that's something that you'll use again and again and again. It's one of the biggest questions we ask. How do I make an envelope? Because I've got, you know, dimension to my card, so how do I make an envelope that'll fit it? Well, just cut loads of these out, you're ready to go.
And if you're at a craft fair, you can actually sell the boxes, provided you've made them. You can sell the boxes to card makers who struggle with decoupage and that sort of thing. Perfect.
But you can also personalise them, can't you? So you've got that as well. Then we move on to our neighbourhood watch, which is just delightful, aren't they? These little geese that are all ready for the fun and games. So you've got this curious little fella down here, and you've got the tiny one as well. Now that means we can either work in perspective, is this one far away from this one, Or we can work in the idea of parent and child. That's another way to work it. Or you can just do, obviously, a little flurry of geese, a little gaggle of geese moving around. But I love these two, where they're sitting, where you've got that, you know, how cats sit on their paws and make themselves into a cat loaf.
Yeah.
You've got a geese loaf, which is just beyond sweet. A little dicky bow, like I say, that can be used for the neck, or it can be used on the head as a little hair tie.
Your cat wears a little dicky bow. There's a theme building here.
Parry Manilow.
Yeah, yeah.
So then you've got your beautiful pottering about, your two little mice here, very busy in the garden, creating all of those gorgeous florals inside your greenhouse. So we've got your mouse here, both of them proudly wearing the Carnation apron. You've got a little hand behind the back because she's very, very busy, and she's obviously hosing down her plants for the evening. And then you've got this chap here who has got his sleeves rolled up, he's ready for business, he wants to get going, and he is all set for his day ahead. You've got your little seed bag, your window box, your shears, your fork, and your spade.
I think she's the waterer and he's the weeder, maybe.
Do you reckon?
I reckon.
Do you think?
Yeah.
You've given them tasks.
Yeah.
Then we've got your flourishing well. My apologies earlier for thinking this was a lemon tree. I know nothing about anything. These are actually peppers, but it is one of my favourite out of these florals. I love the freshness of the yellow and the green together. This is where your perfect papers become so important, because those perfect papers will accentuate the colours that are in your artwork, because the artwork is colour picked and everything works together.
It makes it kind of feel Mediterranean, doesn't it?
It has got that kind of Grecian feeling to it, hasn't it? You've got those tall plants. These make, you want a different level. If you think of the height base of, say, this to this or to this, we're working with the greenhouse. You're thinking of those windows, aren't you? You want things to sit in those windows, but you also want things that give the definition of height inside the greenhouse. And that's exactly what we've got here with your tomatoes and all of those things. I can smell tomatoes growing when I look at that. I love the smell of fresh tomatoes. Then you've got your gardening essentials here. So this is your beautiful, beautiful watering can. Really love that. You've got your wheelbarrow, your spade, your fork. You've got your bracket. So this can be used as a bracket for your hanging baskets we've just looked at, or it can be used as your corners. We've got your gorgeous flower boxes there. You've got your composter down here, which you could also use as a beehive. If you were to use little bees around it, you'd get away with that quite nicely.
And those planters, although they're one-dimensional and flat, you could cut them 4 times and have a cube.
Absolutely.
A mini cube.
You could, and just so cute as well, because it would bring it forward, wouldn't it? You could put another layer inside, actually. So if you had, say, this one, cut it 4 times, 1 for the back, 1 for the front. Hold on, am I getting this right? No, 5 times, 1 for the back, 1 for the front, 1 for each side, so you create in a complete box, and then 1 for the inside to create an extra layer inside as you look at it, and you can put things on the back, on the middle, and towards the front.
A bit like a pop-up box.
Like a pop-up box.
Yeah.
Then you've got your compost bags as well, and your grounding device of your soil at the bottom there. We move on to this. Now, Dave has talked about this. This is not part of the main collection. It is an extra today. And this is your hanging archway card shape. And if we can just talk about versatility, about engineering, about everything going forward. Listen, we've already been there with that main card shape in the main collection. But then let's move it to this, because this is incredible. You've got your card base and you've got your elements here going through, your matte layers. You've got all of your nested here to work with apertures or to build it up and to do whichever. These beautiful sun rays, which cause this gorgeous shadow play. Your extra archway going round for the top, so that finishes it off. It gives it that beautiful idea of walking into the story. Really, really clever just as it is. But the one thing that changes the game is this. That, my friends, makes a stand for your cards. We've talked about this, and it means I never need to cut 2 card bases. I don't need to do the whole score at 1/2 inch, glue them together, try desperately to make sure they're correct and that they're not, you know, slightly lopsided. I don't need to worry about that. I've got the finish that I need from these stands, and they're going to hold it. Now, that can be used for a multitude of different things. You can use them on the back of, you know, the photos we get from school.
Yep.
Of your babies.
Yep.
And they've got that wee triangle that comes out the back that always falls off.
Yes.
You can now rectify that situation because you've got it here, haven't you? You can hold those up with these stands that you're getting. So they're really vital for all of those elements that we've got. But we didn't just stop at the card shape. We have also got these incredible elements that go with it. And these are your tall, your in-your-face, big plants, and these are beautiful. These really change things around, because remember, we've got the smaller ones, so I can use that, and I can use small ones in front. I can get such a beautiful sort of diagonal line almost going for composition just by bringing down those florals at different heights, and it's stunning.
So they're going to work beautifully well with your Botanical Bliss as well. That's why they're in the
Absolutely.
same show, obviously, but a separate item.
You've got your different tops for your post. So the post that you get here, I've got different elements that I can use for it. And I've also got my gates with my hinges. So I've got so many things to play with here. I can make so many different things just with this card shape, but the two together, if you combine the hanging archway card shape and the Botanical Bliss as a collection, you've got literally a powerhouse in front of you.
I mean,
and that's incredible.
If you're wondering how versatile they are, let me show you 3 or 4 cards here to show you. Now this has been done by Barbara Treadwell, who's joined 2 together. We've got again those amazing stands at the back, so the dies to make those are included too, but that looks more like a stately home, like a posh hotel or restaurant, with maybe these being windows that lead into a grand ballroom or something like that. It could be anything like that. But then, totally different, using it landscape rather than portrait, you then can be whimsical and they can be comical. It's got a totally different vibe and a totally different look to it when you use it in that way. Here's another one that's been done in that form as well, landscape rather than portrait. I would never have thought of doing that, actually, using the archway as a landscape, but it really works. Then going back portrait again, Sue's done this one in the design team, and just using not necessarily the rays this time, but she's just used the archway die to cut out the shape for the card blank and made it into a tent card. But really versatile, really, really useful. And I think an awful lot of you seem to be going for both. You can buy either or. If you go for both, that's going to give you infinite possibilities. And like Carla said, with the fact that the foliage and the planted pots and things are much bigger in this, that's going to work well to get perspective and depth and into your card making. But the star definitely has to be our Botanical Bliss. Let me show you 1 or 2 more, then we'll get into demo how to make and how to put the actual, that one's empty, sorry, how to put the greenhouse together. Let's see if this one's got one in. Oh yeah, now that hasn't actually got the greenhouse in it, but this next one has. And just look at this. It doesn't matter how deep your card is, because you've got about probably, I'd say, ½ an inch each side, so you could potentially have like a 1-inch height to your cards that you're putting in here. Use the belly band, that condenses everything down, but when the recipient opens it, takes it out, what have you got? A concertina gives you a perfect 3-dimensional greenhouse orangery with depth. You want to go in there, don't you?
It's so sweet, isn't it? So sweet. And the other thing, of course, is that you could just clip them as such, glue them at one side and leave the others free. So it's almost like a book that you're opening through as well. So again, different playways there.
And don't forget, the vignettes are free to download and to print off. The way it works is you purchase this on our website right now. The $99.99 is there. ClearPay and PayPal Pay in 3 is there as well. Your order will be picked and packed and sent straight away. Okay, so you might even get it tomorrow. I think the postman normally arrives at 2 o'clock at the HQ to pick up the orders, and then you get the enjoyment of printing off all this artwork as we showed you earlier on with those printed sheets. You print all that off as many times as you like, along with the backing papers, and then when your dies arrive, hopefully tomorrow, if not the next day, you can then start to die cut them out and enjoy putting your cards together, which is what we're going to do.
Yeah, so let's have a look at the main card shape. So you've got this beautiful greenhouse. It's exactly what it says on the tin, right? So you've got this gorgeous piece. Now, we talked earlier in the show about how you can concertina the sides of this, okay? So how you can push those together to create that, and I'll show you how to do that in 1 second. However, I've got one that's cut just in plain white. You can see the difference with the artwork, okay? So I've got one in white and I've got one in the artwork that comes with it.
And that artwork isn't using much ink, because it's only kind of a hint of colour, isn't it, really?
But you can do them in white, of course. Now, if I'm creating this for the back of the card and I want to save on ink, then I would just do it in the white, because I've got the artwork at the front and I'm not going to see it as much. So that is one of the options that you've got. But I want to talk to you then about the different ways that we can play with this, because there's more than one way, and I hate this saying, but more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. Awful saying, isn't it? So I'm just going to use my score line at the side, and I'm going to push that shut, okay? So I've just done that. I haven't done it on these, so my concertina, I am going to, but I haven't for now. And then I'm going to push this down at the other side, just using that score, and you burnish those down. So now that will stand just like so. So I've got this perfectly standing formation here, and it just works, right? Now what I can do is, this one's already concertinaed, so because obviously that's not what I'm doing with this demo, but what I can do is then put the other one inside, and I can glue the two sides together. Now you would have this folded, so where those, so let me show you where that goes in. That's going to be where I glue it, obviously. So they're not going to get in the way.
They'd look fantastic with like tiny lights, Carnation Crafts
Wouldn't
tiny
they
lights
just?
inside.
Because it changes it, right? It becomes something else. Now, obviously, I concertina in mine, but yours will all match in. So suddenly I change a different shape. Now I can do that again 3 or 4 times. So instead of having the side windows, they're now at the side, so they're not sticking out, they're now rounded. So I've got different things that I'm doing with this. For instance, Halloween decorations would be incredible with this, wouldn't they? Those tiny lights to make those Halloween houses, really. And we've got loads of Halloween pieces from Carnation that we can use for those.
Cut that die out of black cardstock, it could be a haunted house.
Absolutely, it can be anything at all. So that's another way of making this work, and it works perfectly. I'm going to go back to the original way of doing it, and then tomorrow I will show you an alternative route as well. So you've got lots of different playways for this. Now I want to use the piece that's got the artwork, obviously, for the front, and that's going to sit just like so, like we showed you this morning. So you've got the different ways of doing it, but this time instead of using the purple, I'm using the white. Why does it matter? Well, it matters because visually you'll end up working with different colors, and also you'll get a different visual pop. If you go with the purple, everything that's purple within the set will really sort of dominate the card in a sort of a darker way. It makes it richer. But if I do it in the white, it makes everything pop. So you've got different ways of playing. Now, when you're burnishing these, don't burnish that center point too much. You want it to burnish because you want it to fold, but you also want it to still have its pop. So the main one to burnish is here and here, and that's just your front panel. Don't worry too much about that side pop, because we want that to kind of hold its shape when the recipient gets it. We want to make it obvious that that's what it's going to do, okay? So now I've got this piece, I can start building up my story and deciding what I want to build, how I want to build it, and where I want everything to be.
Hi to Linda McLeod. Says, good afternoon, Carla, Dave and Mr. Taz.
Hey,
Missed
lovely.
the earlier shows, had an appointment that took longer than expected. This is a beautiful collection. I especially like the fact that you can make a box from a die. Absolutely,
I know, right?
Linda.
It's just,
spot on.
I think those things make things so much easier for us as crafters. It really does allow us to craft in a way that's useful to us. Right, let's start building in some of these floral elements. So I've got some different pieces here, and I'm just going to bring them forward so you can see little elements that I'll be using as we go through to decorate and flourish, and so that I can see as I'm going through as well the different elements. So let's bring in some pieces. You'll notice when I work, I tend to work in symmetry. You don't have to, it's just the way my brain sort of breaks things up. But I don't want everything to be symmetrical, because that's going to be a problem to me down the line. You want to make sure that you're offsetting some things. So it's always about the fight between balance and making sure things are balanced, but also making sure you've still got that fun play way to work with. So these are the elements that I'm going to go in with. Now, the reason that I'm working predominantly with the yellows is because I'm working with white, so that's going to make it all really pop. So the first thing that I'm going to do is come in with some wet glue, and you'll see that as we put those yellows on this white, they will just glow. And that's the joy of working yellow and white. They're two perfect partners, yellow and white. They love each other very much.
Hi to Jenny West. She says, sorry I'm late. That's fine, Jenny. Pauline Straker, hello, Carla and everyone. Ruth
Hello,
Conlon's
lovely.
watching as well. Great to know you're all there on Facebook and on YouTube at the moment.
Right, so just tying in some wet adhesive on these edges. Just there. Place this down. So I've created my doorway. You see how that yellow pops when we put it against white? It's got a real, it makes your mouth water, a real sumptuous sort of element to it. Now I've got these pieces here. I get to make choices now. So do I want these elements to sit inside, so that when I place this on, I get a hint of a tint? Do you see? Or do I want them to dominate at the front? Okay, so it was what you want to do. So it's how are you showing the story? What's building inside? I don't want to leave it too empty inside because obviously it's a greenhouse and that would be a shame. So I'm just going to lay some wet glue there.
I'm amazed, you know, how many people we had in the first show this morning watching in America at like 3 and 4 in the morning.
I know, but how lovely of you to join us at that time.
Well, Jennifer Bard, I think that's how you pronounce your name, Jennifer, is in Virginia, and she says, I need this. Hi, Jennifer. Linda Poland said, good afternoon, Carla, Dave and Taz and everyone. Just had an email. My order is on the way.
Yeah,
That's
thank
how
you very
quick we
much.
are.
I will tell you this. Here's a sneak peek into Carnation for you. For those of you who are watching are on the fence and you think you're going to get it, but you're not quite sure and you don't know whether... Their postman's going to arrive in half an hour.
Yeah, 2 o'clock.
So if you want it potentially tomorrow...
It could be landing through your letterbox tomorrow. Can't guarantee it. Depends on your postman, of course, but certainly it's going to be leaving the building if you put your order in now.
Yeah, a good possibility. Right, so I've laid out a foundation. I'm not quite symmetrical, but there's enough going on for me that I know roughly where I'm playing with this, and I can start building from that point, and I'm probably okay with it roughly as it is, but I'm not going to glue the two together because I want to make choices, and this is really important when you're working with a card like this. Work separately, because if you do that, then if you want to change the construction of what you've done, you very simply can. Not an issue at all, and it gives you a little bit more freedom in what you're playing with. So I've got my front panel here. The first thing that I'm going to do is lay down my gate posts on here. So I've got them, and I'm just using them as a little bit of colour just to warm through those tones and to add in the idea of the wood with the glass as such. It gives you that kind of warmth through.
It's got a kind of Kew Gardens feel to it, this a little bit.
Oh, what?
Kew Gardens?
Cute garden.
No,
Kew
Kew
Gardens.
Kew Gardens, yeah. I mean, that's the most elaborate kind of greenhouse you could ever imagine, but there's an element of that to it. It's very luxurious. Orangeries at hotels maybe come to mind.
It's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really pretty. So I've got that element there now, and you see that we make the door more grandiose, but I don't want it to cover my beautiful peppers, so I need to make sure that that archway still allows that colour to show through. So once I've got that, I've now got my little gate. Hey up! And I'm going to bring this in, and I'm just going to seat this just over, and there you can see that I've got it shut. Okay, my gate is shut this time, and that's what I want it to be. I need to make sure it's laid down to that bottom point. All right, so I need to make sure it's lowered down, and I've also utilised my purples there. Now,
so hang on, you made the planters into little gates.
Yeah, into gates themselves. So what I can do here is place this onto there, if I so chose. Just to show you the options.
Oh, I like that.
So now I tell a different story. Remember, we're always storytelling. So now it walks into a different element, doesn't it? Compared to the alternative, which is you're walking in, okay? There's an invite, isn't there? We're inviting you in. Would you like to walk into the card?
I never saw those planters as being gates like that, but yeah, they work well. That's why you're who you are.
Well, I think I may have stolen the idea from the DT, so...
Okay.
So I'm just going to place that there, and this here. Okay, so that gives me my shaping now. So I've got this element, and my hinges are coming through to give me that gorgeous definition. And I want it at the front. I want to be able to go, walk into the card, let's see what's happening behind. It gives it an air of mystery almost, doesn't it? Now, I don't want this to be quite so plain as it is. I want to add some height. That's why I place this one higher, is because when I place this in, I've got something behind. So I'm, again, building depth. So this one's going to come in here. First of all, just at the bottom, just slightly off to the side. And then I'll find a resting point that I can put some more adhesive on. So I'm just going to build that there and push, and that's my commitment point. And I know that now I've got something that's a little bit busier, okay? And so now I've got this sort of more full view going through. Then I've got my different elements now, and now I'm going to start to build in more and more pieces. I'm just working out from my balance points where I want what. So I've got these, and I can bring this in to just fill this out. right, to put on those sides. I don't want to do that, and I'm going to do something different with those elements, but I just wanted to bring in the different sort of fullness that you can gauge from it. But I've got also my stems, and you can start to see how we would really build up the scene. So when I've got this here, I've got that element on the side, all right? But I want to explain something different to you. If I come in with this panel and I put in my compost over at the front, right? So I'm building up in front of the gates. A little bit here. Place that down. Now I've filled in the gap that's here because it's replaced by my compost, and I can start to tell that story. So what you're constantly going to be wanting to do is just lift it. Make sure you're getting your balance. Make sure everything's about where you want it to be. I'm going to want to have my spade.
That lovely message we had in the last show, actually, from a lady who was asked to make a greenhouse card for someone who loves and just really enjoys growing her own fruit and veg and stuff.
That's
and
such
then this
a
comes
cool
along,
concept, isn't it?
ordered straight away. Brilliant. Problem solved.
Placing that there, now I'm building up the depth in the card. So there's a construct happening. Now, let's talk about framing this out properly. Talk about how we create that beautiful flow line coming down. I want to create a floral swag for the top of my card. How do I go about it? Well, I go in simple steps and I create from there. So the first thing I'm going to do is take these gorgeous little cane elements, little amounts of wet glue here.
Actually, you don't see canes very often. You see lots of florals, but not canes. So
Exactly.
again, this makes it more real.
So I'm bringing that down. So I'm creating that swag. Let me move that out the way for now. Just bring in.
Don't forget clear acetate. That's going to be a real game changer if you want to make it look as if it's got glass in the panes.
I do believe they've got it on the Carnation website.
Good.
I think it's something that they sell, so you can go and help yourself to that. So now I've got this element and I'm starting to build those florals. Now, where do I want to go from here? I obviously need to finish that off. I can't leave it where it is. So I've cut away the box from this floral to add to the top of that to create that swag, okay? But it's a little bit too unfinished for me. So the reason I've brought in the other elements is to show you the different ways of then bringing in a full floral feel to your swag. We start to remove the cane element and we hide the pots, okay? So I can bring these in, pull them down and place those on top, and I start to get blooms.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so we're building up that prettiness, and we can add in so many more different elements by playing in that simple way.
That looks like the most elaborate flower display for a wedding or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do, is just bring in that additional floral format here. So I'm just going to place this up at the top, near enough there. Same again. Just here. Cross them like a pirate cross at the top. Now, if I want to, I can take an extra element, remove the pot because I've got snip lines, so I can just cut through those little pips. I can place that down. I've got a straight edge before I get to that little sort of parapet, would you call it? And now we have that blossom and bloom, okay? So we've created that swag very simply. I'll put these on here and then I know I'm hitting the right spot. To bring in that bloom, and then with a little bit of shape on here, just to puff it out.
And of course, Carnation do ball tools too. They're on the website. Don't forget, it's not just what we're showing you on screen that Carnation has to offer on their website. It's a full craft shop. There's all sorts of things there for you. USBs. We've got, of course, we've got the fantastic tiny lights as well if you want to illuminate your conservatory, your greenhouse. There's glue, tools. It's all there.
So just utilising this, I'm just going to turn it until I find what I think is the sweet spot, which I think is about there. So I've got this hint of colour coming out, this beautiful swag that's working for me. Thank you very much. Doing the job. Right, let's take this. I'm about ready for construct at this point. So removing the red liner tape from one of my sides here, she says, Hold on. There we go. Now, just very carefully laying down. So I've got my score line here, and I'm going to match the score line with the edge.
I know I asked you before, but for this sort of GSM cardstock, you recommend?
$3.50 for your base cards. Okay. If it's a printed vignette, then go for your $1.20, so that when it's mirrored, it will be a $2.40.
And of course, we recommend Pro Print paper, which you'll find on the website as well, because that just gives you the best reproduction when it comes to the colour from the vignettes, without a shadow of a doubt.
So working with my score line again, just adding this in to that edge and to that edge. And now we're starting to form a fuller picture of what we are trying to achieve. Now I'm going to bring in my peppers. Let's just get some additional colourway going here. So one, and then another bit onto the centre of that line, which allows that to adhere. Sim again, out to the other side. So again, we don't have to work with symmetry, but every now and again those symmetrical lines will just give you some visual balance. So sometimes just adding in a little bit of symmetry, it doesn't have to be all the way, but a little bit of symmetry just gives you a visual oomph. Right, from here I've got my beautiful little wheelbarrow, and I'm just going to have this seated gently against my gate, okay? So it just pulls into that picture, and I've got the element I need. And I can see, because I left it until the last minute to put this in, yes, I recommend that you do the construct separately, so the first layer and then the second, but now I can see where my gaps are. I can see where I need a little bit more movement or another element to it. So I can place and place, make sure they're pinned exactly where they need to be. And I've got the little fork, so I'll add that in here, I think, because I think that is super sweet. Tiny, tiny amounts.
Now, isn't this just the perfect card for someone who adores their garden? Maybe it's the sort of conservatory you've always wanted. I've got a conservatory at home, but it's nowhere near as glamorous as that. Mine's a kind of a lean-to. But I would love to have something as spectacular as this.
Let's take our little man. He's got half a bow tie on him there. Let's take him. Puff him all out. Bring his neck forward and his head forward. And then I'm just going to get the little bow tie. Tiny little amount of wet glue. Place this, because he's very dapper. And pin it so you know it's in place. So he's, look at him, he's cute as a button.
Absolutely.
So now
I just love the cocked head, you know, to one
he's
side.
so curious.
Yeah.
I can either pop him inside the wheelbarrow because he's a cheeky little bird, or I can just pop him at the side, which is what I'm going to do. But there's lots of options we're playing, or he can sit bang centre. But I like him just off to the side here with the wheelbarrow behind him. Just gives him a little sort of element of playfulness.
It's almost like he's saying, can I help you?
Hello.
And you are who?
You said what? You said biscuits? So let's put a little bit of wet glue first on his cheek where I know he's going to sit. Make sure his feet are grounded so he's not floating in mid-air. Pin him just there. And then I can take his little feet, add a little bit of wet glue just there. And just a little bit more on this foot here. So just pinning them down. So he's sticking, but I'm not getting into a sticky mess behind him, because remember we've got gaps here. Get your applicators. They're very, very important in this section. And then all I need to do is just take this where my score line is, pull it back so that I've got that little stand, and just pull it. There you go. And break it in, and then same here. Break that score line down. The fibres are already cut for you. You just need to push it in and it will fall into place. And then you've got...
It'll stand upright all on its own.
Something really sweet and really, really clever.
For a start, where would you ever have the opportunity of purchasing a card like that. They just don't exist. You can make them. You can make them exist. And if I show you this one, Lavinia Newton's done from the design team, she's incorporated what I really, without a shadow of a doubt, would incorporate acetate into this, because I don't know if you can see in the lights, it just gives you the effect of glass. There we are. So yeah, you could go to the actual extent of putting and cutting it to the exact shape, so it looks like there's panes of glass throughout the entire conservatory or orangery, or just do what Lavinia's done and just put a sheet of it in the back there, and that has a similar effect as well. But she's used 2 in this element. This one used 3, so you can have as many layers as you want. You can have as much depth in the scene as you choose. And remember, the colorways for the greenhouse or the conservatory, there are 2. You've got this one, which is kind of an off-white color, very, very beautiful and very light and bright, and you've got the other that's a darker purple, which looks completely different but very, very effective. And then of course, as Lavinia has done, she's made the box beautifully, because the box die is included in it as well, and then she's layered the back of the box with one of the perfect paper designs. That's a little lavender colour with the tiny dots as well. And then you put the belly band around it to compress it, and then shut it up. That is an absolutely stunning card. That's a card. My mum and dad have got a card from their golden wedding anniversary that was made similar to this. It was done like a shadow box style,
nice.
and it's got a picture of them on their wedding day inside it, and it's been up on the side of the dresser.
Well, you could
for the last
put
7 years.
some like velvet inside it,
yeah,
you know, to give it that kind of rich feel, couldn't you, as a presentation box? Very nice with a little USB in it for somebody, wouldn't it? You've got all of the elements to create something absolutely exceptional. It's such a beautiful collection.
Now the collection, 55% of the entire stock has gone. That's live at just after 1:45. Now we're obviously very well aware that when we do our shows at 9, 11 and 1 on launch day, a lot of people have got things to do during the day. Maybe they can steal an hour here, steal an hour there to watch some of it. Most people watch in the evening when they get home, go onto YouTube, go onto Facebook. So if you're watching this on repeat, well, that may well be a totally different story. And we've got 2 shows tomorrow, 10 and 12. Okay, so that's the main collection. It's called Botanical Bliss, and this is what you get in it. Here are the boards.
Yeah, so let's just have a quick refresh. It's the last show of the day, so let's refresh you on what you get in when you get it home. Remember, you can go to Carnation Crafts, and when you purchase it, you can also get your vignettes. So you can actually start printing those this afternoon, because a lot of you are going to receive this tomorrow. So by the time I go live with you tomorrow morning at 10, lots of you will already be using it, or will have it in your pour already. So you have got your absolutely stunning Botanical Sanctuary here, which is just gorgeous, isn't it? You've seen us play with this again and again and again. So those different elements that you've got, the greenhouse, the different ways you can play with it. You can make this a box, you can make it into a grand, grand greenhouse, something that you would see in a stately home. Just absolutely stunning. It's actually whatever you want it to be, isn't it? It could be an orangery, it could be so many different things. You've also got the belly band, so 2 of those will create a compressor for your card, which won't crush it, but it will absolutely hold it together without your card expanding inside the box, and it means it will keep it protected and keep it fresh. It's also a really nice element for when your recipient gets it, to be able to open that band, isn't it, and see that card expand. There's a mystery about it, and that's really nice when you're receiving a card to get something so completely different.
It's a very special experience.
It is,
It's not
indeed.
just like opening an envelope and getting a card out of it. Oh, thank you very much. It's more than that.
Absolutely. It's just beautiful. Really, really gorgeous. Now, you've also got the box. I mean, to say that this is what it is, because this could have so many boards just for this, because this big bad boy around here, that's your box.
They could have taken the box die out and still charged the same amount just for the greenhouse and done the box die separately.
Well, and to be fair, that would make sense, right? Because they can make more money doing it that way, and they didn't, and I appreciate that very, very much. They've kept it as a double element, so you get the economy from that, you get the, you know, the bonus from it. You've got all the elements you need. Now, we did do a full demonstration at 11 o'clock to show you how to make that box. Please do go back and refer to that. We will look at it again tomorrow as well, but just if for those of you who are getting it tonight and want to see it, that was at 11. You've got your stamping element here, so you can stamp on this, you can put sentiment on this, all the different pieces. You've got your table and your little stools. Maybe your mouse might be a little short, or maybe one of your geese might want to sit on one of these. So you've got those pieces too. Your geese, your beautiful neighbourhood watch. They're watching everything that goes on. They're very busy and they're having the best time ever on the farm. So you've got your little geese that are sitting with their little feetsies round at the bottom here. You've then got the two walking ducks. You've got the little bow tie to dress them up or dress them down if you don't want it. Could be a hair bow as well. And then you've got him, which is just beyond sweet, isn't he? He's got the best face. And you've got little and large of all of them, depending on what you want to craft and how you want to craft. Then you've got your pottering about, your two little mice, very, very busy in their garden with their carnation aprons on. Little Alan Titchmarshes doing what they do best, which you've got one with a hose pipe, and then you've got one who's just ready to roll up his sleeves and get going. You've got your seed bag, you've got your little window pot, and then you've got your shears, your fork, and your spade.
So cute.
Beyond sweet, aren't they? If you just take a moment for his hands, they're obviously ready to hold any of these tools. So everything is about ready for you to go, just beyond cute. You've then got your flourishing well. These are all your plants that come together, don't they? So you've got your tomato plant, your pepper plant, you've got florals. I'm not even going to hazard a guess at those. You've got your canes. We've got little plant pots that we've seen that go in the windows of that greenhouse. So again, we're talking about size being really important. It's pointless us providing you a greenhouse this big and then some planters that go across it this big. Everything has to be directed in order to make that card make sense, and that's exactly what Carnation do every single time. We're not trying to supply you with an enormous plant pot and a tiny greenhouse. Everything works as it should, and that's exactly what you get on this board. It's all designed for perspective. You've then got your gorgeous little boxes. Now, you've seen us using them as fences. They can be used as all sorts, can't they? But they are your planters, and they're there for you to use. These are so lovely as well. Just on an 8x8 card, fill them with your botanicals, because they'll slot behind here. If I've got this one, I can't do it on the board so much, but if I was to, as such, place this in, now obviously you would snip that off, but if I was to place that in, it changes what we're doing, doesn't it? It's now a really beautiful, bountiful box full of things.
And it was those planters that you used to make the gates.
To make the gate.
I didn't see that, so that's fantastic.
Different ideas for different things, right? And so you've got all of these elements coming through. I especially love the composter. I think it's absolutely glorious, but I think it's great as a beehive as well. And for those of you, I don't know which set it was, but my brain wants to... Go and have a look at Carnation's sentiment stamps. One of them has got a lot of bees on it. And that would be amazing. To make that with the bees stamped on it as well would just be beautiful, because you'd get this really nice element behind it. So that's another idea that you can use. You've got the compost bags here. You've also got the soil sitting on the bottom. So we've got grounding devices. Grounding devices are really, really important because it makes sure that nothing is floating in midair for no reason. On top of that, or separately to that, so that was the main collection. That was Botanical Bliss.
And this is the Hanging Archway, which is a separate collection, which is £49.50, I think it is. £49.99, beg your pardon, £49.99, and again, equally as versatile.
Equally as versatile. Now, here's the thing, £49.99 for this. If I was just showing you this board, it's worth it.
It is.
But I'm going to show you two boards, because on this, not only do I get my gorgeous card shape, and you might look at that and go, really nice card shape. It's incredibly versatile. I've got all of my nested elements in the inside of this, so I can create apertures. This central piece that belongs with the Starburst can have like an aperture inside it and something behind it. That's incredible. I can create layered nested because I've got the different sizes, or I can create layers as we've got here. I've then also got my element on top, which is the Starburst piece. Then I've got the archway that goes around. I've got my fence post, we used that earlier. But this, which creates those stands, which allows you to stand any card correctly.
Very clever.
Angled, so that it doesn't matter. You know when you're putting a card base together and you might have your main card shape and then you would cut it twice, you'd score it 1/2 inch and you'd put them together. If you get that slightly off kilter, and it's not even about getting them together at the same size, because we can shuffle and make that happen. If you create that score line too high, it'll splay, like Bambi on ice, right? Because it's got a tiny little point holding it, so it will splay. So let's avoid complications. You've got to stand now for every single card you make. The power of that. And here's the other thing as well while I'm here, because obviously it's the last show of the day. When you make that stand, you see that depth there?
Yeah.
The width of it? It's exactly the same width as that.
See.
So if I create this as an aperture where there's no cardstock here, this is just see-through, they fit on here.
That's
so I can make that absolutely perfect.
That's the Carnation difference. They think about all that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And then this is the icing on the cake. In addition to that, you get this.
As well as this. In that $49.99, not only do we give you that incredible card base with that stand, we're going to give you all of this as well. So you've got your proper gate posts here, you've got your hinges, you've got your little balustrades for the top of those elements, then you've got your florals. You've seen us using these in different dimensions and different ways. I've got this as a full planter here, but it's got these incredibly clever little curve lines going down, which means I can take them off and they will hang from that greenhouse top. So they can work either way. And those tall elements which will stand at either side of the greenhouse, or they will start your perspective coming down if you want to do them either side and work inwards. You're creating either the V line for composition or the diagonal for composition.
And don't forget, if you get your order in before 2 o'clock, so you've got 5 minutes, there's every chance the postman will be taking your order today. You might even get it tomorrow. I know it's cutting it a bit fine now, but it'll probably be the day after, I'd say, if you're ordering now. 240901 is the Botanical Bliss. That's the launch day today, done and dusted. We've got 2 more shows tomorrow, 10 and 12, with what remaining stock we have left. 55% of that stock has gone. Do remember, the idea is that you buy it from us. We give you a 10% discount because you're buying it on launch day, so it should be £115. It's $99.99. And another thank you from Carnation is to give you the artwork free. All that professional artwork that Nick and his team do religiously, you can use in your card making, your project making, and there's no charge for it, including background papers that you can print off as well. And that you'll find at carnationcrafts.co.uk. Go to downloads, click on free downloads, and then the artwork for all the collections are there for you. Carla, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will see you again very, very soon, but you're back tomorrow at 10. Enjoy
Yes.
the rest of the day and get on the website now to order.